Hi, everyone. Welcome to our new episode of the Happy Hour Live, presented to you all by Women Empowered Sri Lanka and Women Empowered Global. Today we have joining us Sharon Mascarenas. She will be joining us shortly, and as soon as she joins, we'll kick off today's episode, which will be presenting to you a very interesting topic, which I'll get into as soon as we have Sharon joining us here. So this Happy Hour Live talk show that we do here at Women Empowered Sri Lanka is something that we have initiated to present to you all topics that are relevant for Sri Lankan women living within the country and abroad. And I see that we have Sharon here. So let's just connect, guys, and then we will kick off today's episode. Hi, how are
Hi,
you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thanks so much for being here and joining us for the happy hour. For those that are joining in a little later, this happy hour live is a talk show series presented to you all by Women Empowered Sri Lanka and Women Empowered Global. We present topics on a variety of different issues, but all things that are relevant for Sri Lankan women. But we highly encourage men to tune in as well because it's relevant for all of us, really. And what we have today in terms of our topic is something unique that we started here at Women Empowered Sri Lanka through this talk show, which is to feature for you all career paths that aren't really the typical ones that are let's say, pushed, so to speak, within society. And when I say the typical ones, I mean doctor, lawyer, engineer, which are excellent career paths if that's what you're passionate about. But, not necessarily everyone falls into those three buckets. And there's a lot out there in the world. And so we have asked Sharon to join us today to talk a little bit about the role of broadcast journalism in her life and her experience and journey within her career in broadcast journalism, and how it has been for you as a woman within this field, because till date it's still, and I don't know if you would agree, but at least my opinion is that it is still very much so a male dominated field. So to see women pursuing this line of work is refreshing, and we're hoping that you can share your story and insight into this field with us today. And for those of you who don't know, Sharon is an award-winning TV anchor, news anchor, and TV presenter. And we are delighted to have you here today at the Happy Hour Live. Thanks so much for tuning in, those of you guys that are joining today. Sharon, it's an absolute pleasure. And, I'm so glad that we're able to interview you. So the tables are a little turned today. Tell us about your journey on how you got to where you are in your career. I know we've talked about this briefly, but you've overcome quite a bit to get to where you are and establish your name in the industry, especially in an industry that there are female presenters out there, but kind of few and far between, right? So tell us what it's been like to get to this point.
Thanks a lot, Harshi. Thank you to all the viewers. Harshi, I think right at the outset, I need to say there is a lot of guys who are joining us
Yes,
in this
there are.
conversation. And I just kept keeping a track on who's online. And I'm like,
I
it's all
noticed.
guys, like most of the time.
I noticed, and actually it highly encouraged, and we love it because what would we, dynamic women be without the strong men that support us, right?
Yeah,
And it's extremely important that men tune in to these episodes because it's relevant for everyone. So hi
yeah,
to all the guys that are joining us, as well as
I know.
the
And
ladies as well.
I can see a lot of my friends have joined in as well. So it's
Oh,
great to
that's
have everybody.
awesome. That is
Thank
awesome.
you for making time because there's a very interesting reality TV show that's going on. So everyone is on this. So I'm a little
Oh,
overwhelmed and really thankful to both
oh,
of them joining on this. Harshi, right at the outset, I also want to say thank you for initiating this concept of Women Empowered Global as well as Sri Lanka, because we do highlight our work. We silently work. We also, go up and beyond. It's sometimes negligence or, sideline. People say a man's voice is much better than a female's. That's how straightforward or upfront that
Oh
you
gosh.
hear. But to be honest, things are changing now, Harshi, and it's
Mhm.
very good because you can see a very young, energetic female. I don't want to go too much into the gender-based system, but I can see a lot of young teens, especially girls, coming into the field
Mhm.
of media, and a lot of them keep asking me, "How do I join? Should I study? What should I do?" So, in my perspective, I think it was a stroke of luck
Mhm.
where from school, I was directly invited to come and join the main news team. And then from there, it's the place that I work, the national television. It's a self-learning place. You're not taught technically, this is how you read, this is how you do. You groom yourself. And the best experience that I got is that you get to work with the seniors. So you are immediately or automatically trained to their style. But styles have changed over the years now. And especially like on a day like today, we had the swearing in ceremony of the Prime Minister.
Yes, that's
Um,
right.
Back in the day, people were very accurate about the information that they shared, whether it was his 13th or 14th, or, they check the information before they announce and say it. But
Uh-huh.
today, I heard 5 different stations say 5 different numbers
Oh
of
my
the
God.
prime minister swearing in for the this is the 13th, this is the 14th prime minister, this is the 15th prime minister. And I was just thinking to myself, why aren't we getting the correct information out to the public? It's a two-way thing, because now communication has changed so much that you can be your own correspondent. You don't have to
Mhm.
necessarily be a part of a television station or a radio or
Mhm.
print media, whatever it is. But the accuracy is, how do you see this?
It's interesting because I think in the last maybe 5 years or so, we've seen this term that's come up quite a bit, right? Fake news, and especially with social media, where it's at today, what we call
And
the
I think
WhatsApp media presenters, right? The ones that are sharing fake news via
exactly.
WhatsApp and
And
other forms
sometimes
of social
they share
media.
the news and they say, don't share it.
Yes, exactly. And it kind of starts to blur the lines, especially for those that are professionals within broadcast journalism, such as yourself. And then you have the WhatsApp presenters, so to speak, that are
So
out there spreading
even the
this.
elections, this was one of the issues that came about. Before the Commissioner of Department of Information kind of released the results, you
Mm-hmm.
find all the predicted results going all over the place, because there are different kinds of communities where people believe in these numbers, and then there are those people thinking, "Ha, this is fake." You're communicating to two different audiences, and you're supposed to give out the
Exactly.
accurate information. So it's sad. I was really, really sad today to
Oh,
see this happening in different stations. It's a good positive thing that there is so much of channels today where you can communicate and do this, but people don't check the accuracy. And I would say a lot of people do have the confidence in delivering the news, in communicating. It's just that the negligence, it's like, let me just dish out the news.
yeah. Use their soapbox, so to speak, and their little platform, and dish out what they feel like, right? Um,
Yeah.
so you mentioned that young ladies come to you and ask how can they get into this line of work, and that's an excellent question. How do you answer that? How can someone, not just even young ladies, how can young men who are interested in broadcast journalism get their foot in the door? What kind of training and education is needed? And I know you said training for you was really kind of on the spot. It was sink or swim, right? And you definitely swam and prevailed. But how can others get their foot in the door to pursue their interest in broadcast journalism?
Harshi, I'm also continuing to swim because the trend is changing now.
Yeah.
I read with the seniors, they had a very elocuted style of reading,
Hmm.
and that's how they followed. Whereas now the trend is very natural, and you have to
Correct.
be yourself in front of the camera.
Correct.
Whereas I see this new trend where you go trilingual or bilingual now, where
Hmm.
people can understand what you are trying to say. So you don't necessarily speak big words in
Yeah.
English because it's a mass communication and it's a huge crowd that we're
Exactly.
trying to communicate. And then sometimes you have these memes going around saying "Ingrisi akka kata karunwa," and like, if you know your English, you got to stick to your language, not
That's
with
right.
Ingrisi akka.
Yeah, that's right.
So a lot of
I
them come and ask me, just to answer your question. Sorry, I'm deviating.
Oh, no, no,
Um,
not at all.
so if you have a media unit in your school, and if those who are watching us right now, if you can start a media unit in your school,
Mm,
that would be fantastic because it grooms a person. It drives the passion, plus it kind of motivates them to join the media side. But at the same time, let's say you're a little scared. You don't want to. You have this little fear of butterflies. Oh, I don't want to face the camera. I just don't want to talk to myself. Trust me, if you get into theater, if you start hanging out, talk to people. These things can change. There's a lot of workshops where you can really improve yourself in communication. But that doesn't mean that if you can talk, you can join the newsroom. That doesn't work. You have to
mhm.
know the stories around the world. You have to have the art and the style of communicating. You have to be a research specialist. You have to know the information, the
Yeah.
accuracy. You have to deliver it in a style so that the listener can understand. Harshi, a lot of them have you know, it's and sometimes like, what did she say? What was that word? Yeah. And sometimes when there's something absolutely funny that's happening on the news, you have to keep a straight face and you have to communicate it.
Hmm.
You can't be like this chirpy person because it's delivering the news. So sometimes people tell me, why are you so serious as if you murdered someone? Can you just chill at the news? And I'm like, no, you expect me to laugh saying, the premiere ceremony happened today.
That is actually very tough. That's very, very tough. And I have noticed like you always keep that poker face when you're
Yeah.
delivering the news, and you have to. And it's tough. It's harder than it seems, right? Because regardless of the topic, you have to keep your composure throughout it all.
And also it's funny because sometimes you have to concentrate on the script. You
Hmm.
concentrate by communication with your communication to the camera, and there is someone yelling at this onto your earpiece saying
Oh
it's
gosh.
the next visual, carry on, jump up, jump up. So you have to concentrate on the go as to how you do it. Plus, if you are reading alongside a guy or another girl, your pitching levels, your voicing levels has to
Hmm.
coincide with them. You can't go and that guy going to deep. You've got to have the voice also.
That's
Sorry, am
actually
I
very
entertaining enough?
interesting.
I should be doing that.
This is actually very interesting because I have never, like, I watch the news every single day, and never have I ever thought about that, the pitch and how the pitch has to sort of complement each other with both the presenters. And that is really interesting. Is that something that you guys kind of learn as you go along, or did you get trained to do that? Is that something very unique?
I think if you understand the role of a news presenter or a reader, and if you get
Uh,
into your system, you can't fool around. It's you are a brand yourself, and you have to maintain that perception so that people will start believing you. People will start
Absolutely.
looking up to you with the stories that you give. And if you are this um, incompetent, sing-song, poem style. Let me just read the script that I'm given. That's not work. People are going to swap channels, you know.
Oh, that's right. That's right. As a woman within this field, and we touched upon this earlier, is it is very much so still a male-dominated field. Uh, Throughout your career, your professional career, what have been some struggles that you faced as a woman within this field, and how did you take that issue, but then overcome it, get past it, to continue on this career path?
Harshi, one of the main things I get is you're just a prop,
Oh
on,
God.
and let the man do the job.
Oh God.
And then, you have this thing inside you like,
Uh, my blood is boiling just hearing that comment.
um, so sometimes I play it cool and I don't show. I mean, you're not supposed to show your moods or what
Hmm.
you exactly feel on stage. But having said that, you can't be a plastic self.
Hmm.
By You can't do that.
Correct.
It's very fake, and
Correct.
that's where you really have to be yourself. And sometimes you have to stand on your grounds and say, "Hey, look here. You have brought me here, not because I'm just some pretty thing.
Hmm.
It's just that we both have to share." And I'm so honored that a lot of them, sometimes even the co-host, steps up and says, "Hey, no, it's a 50-50 base. Um, you take on this part, I will take on this part." It's like a partnership. It's like a cricket match, that you
Yes,
share this
exactly.
whole platform. So, A, being a prop. B, there's this ugly competition that happens with vocals, where people would say, okay, so my voice will be very soft-ifying. It depends on the event, actually. So
Hmm.
if it's an award ceremony, sometimes when it comes to the climax, you need to pitch it higher. If you're at the start, you pitch it slow. If it's a dinner dance, you're hyped up, you're energized. But even if you're energized, you don't screech. And
Hmm.
people think screeching at the microphone is like, it's only John Bon Jovi and Aerosmith who can do that. You
Exactly.
can't take on that role.
Exactly. Exactly.
So there is something called the voice balance that people do, and that's a reason why they do that. And it's sad that some people don't sort of cooperate with that. They
Hmm.
tend to forget what they're trying to do. So it's a big area, with a woman trying to be out there on stage, profile herself, where we concentrate on whether my shoe heel is all right, whether my split
Oh.
is okay, whether my hair is all right. Where, the guy has to be like, "Hey, are you cool? Is everything cool? All right, let's go."
It's so easy. Like even just getting ready for men, I'm a little envious of the process of, they can just throw anything
And
on
they're so
and be ready
lucky.
to go.
No
They're so
makeup,
lucky. Yeah.
nothing.
No, no issues at all. Nothing to worry about. It's us who's constantly like, is my makeup, is my liner even? Like, there's so many things. Do I have lipstick on my teeth? So it's definitely an envious thing that men have going for them. But like you said, it's a balance, it's a partnership, and having that co-host or co-anchor that's alongside you, that's empathetic, not just empathetic, but encouraging, is a huge strength to have. Which brings
Exactly.
us into our next point. What do you think within this field can be done better to encourage more women to enter the field of broadcast journalism, whether it's at a management level or whether it's at even the first preliminary steps of the education system? What do you think could be done better to encourage women to pursue this as a career path?
I think they can start at any age, Harshi. There's no
Hmm.
restrictions at all. It's just that you have to learn the basics if you want
Hmm.
to get into the spotlight. But at the same time, I think the perfect time to start comparing or events would be roughly if you're in the age of 18, 19, where you
Hmm.
can start getting to sports commentary because it's a fantastic area. You've got to love it.
Hmm.
We don't have sports journalists who are women. And that's
That's
one of the
true.
things I probably regret where I didn't get into commentary, or the amount of fun that we can have on stage, especially in a sport like rugby, football, cricket. It's just tremendously awesome where women can actually pursue there. And then news is a different angle. You need to have more professionalism. You need to learn a lot. There's a lot of study that goes behind it. Events is a more relaxed form, but you need to do a lot of research. But it comes as you go. You know, you polish yourself over the years of experience that counts along the way. So there is no particular age, but experience counts on the go for you to improve yourself. Sometimes when you work with a senior, we advise not to copy that, but to learn the gist of it and create your form and make sure that your audience likes it. You can't force an audience with a different thing where they will feel uncomfortable. And Harshi, the audience here in Sri Lanka are very lethargic. I'm sorry, very slow. If you tell them to clap, I'm not going to clap. I'm going to keep my hands quiet and not do anything. And I'm like, please clap.
Oh
It's
gosh.
sad. It's so sad. It's just that maybe after a couple of drinks, we'll clap even when you don't tell us.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think that's a really awesome point about women entering this field to pursue not just broadcast journalism, but sort of the unconventional topics like sports journalism. I would love to hear commentary from a female broadcaster for a rugby match. That would be incredible. It's a different spin. It's refreshing. And not to say that, one gender would do it better than the other, but it's just that change,
Exactly.
right? It's the change
Yeah.
that's refreshing. And we would love to see that. And I know people might hold in their applause, but
Yeah.
internally they might secretly love it. So it's something for if there's any young women that are tuning in today, watching this, something to consider. Sports journalism, right?
Yeah.
Um,
And I think, Harshi, if they are to join this field, you have to be passionate. I think it's in any job. I agree. Any job that you do, that you have to be passionate in what you
mhm.
do. It's sadly where a lot of people will be like asking me, how much can I earn in this field? So it's the first question about the finance,
Yeah.
and then down the line is where they ask about, okay, how do I become a star? Whereas for
Oh,
us, it was the reverse, where we wanted to learn and we wanted to be this person. And then only we thought of, okay, how do I improve? How do I manage? How do I balance it? How do I balance my lifestyle? All of that. It's different. I'm just sad that the generation today just simply keep asking, how much can I earn with this profession? Yeah.
it's really unfortunate because this happens with so many career paths that I think people get so fixated on the income aspect of it. And honestly, when you are starting out, any entry level position is not going to pay you six figures, even the
What I tell
highest
them,
earning ones.
I tell them, release a song or start dancing. You'll earn
Yeah.
a lot of money.
Yeah, and even then that takes hard work. That takes time to
Yeah.
get to that point where you're selling records, selling songs and and creating that fan base. Everything takes hard work. Nothing starts out at, hey, come here, let me pay you a six-figure salary. You're fresh out of school. Come on in. It's
Yeah.
unrealistic and I'm glad you mentioned that because you shouldn't let that make you lose sight of what your true passion is. And that's one of the main reasons we do this particular spin-off of our Happy Hour Live segment so that others can see the fields that are out there outside of the ones that are typically pushed in school. Because if you go into a career path that you're not passionate about, one day, I guarantee you, it may not be in 1 or 2 years,
Absolutely.
but one day, that day will come where you wake up and you're completely burned out. You hate getting up out of bed to go to that job every day. And you don't want to reach that point in your life. Life is short. So when you're able to kind of think through your options and explore everything that's out there, don't let the financial piece of it tie you down, right? So,
But there are
um,
positives to it also, Harshi. Like, you are treated like a god wherever you go. and then you get to taste the food and you get to be a good critic. You can say what's bad, and everyone is literally scared when you say your background is from so where and where, and then
Yeah.
everyone is like, give her the best dish.
Give her the VIP treatment.
Sometimes it's good that you get to even go overseas to meet a lot of
Mm.
VIPs, interview them, speak to them, see their profiles. This is what the country is doing. This field brings us those benefits, but at the same time,
What do you
I'm
think
going to say,
if you had to look back, if you had to look back at the highlights of your career, which there have been so many, what would you say was one of the most like prolific moments for you, where you were kind of a little bit awestruck as well, in the grand scheme of things? What would be that one defining moment?
there is a lot, Harshi, especially in this field. You know how you fall off stage, you put, I mean, somebody pushes you accidentally. It, there is a lot of moments like that. But if I have to say like a part where I'll never forget, would be one of those, the point where you get to host the Chogam event, which is where you introduce
Oh,
all
that's right.
profiles of different countries, especially the
That's right.
presidents.
That's right.
um, Till that day, we were like, all calm, relaxed. It's rehearsals. Even if you get the name wrong, it's fine. You're really chilled. But at that moment, you have this certain butterflies or goosebumps, or it's a different gamblet where you
Hmm.
can't get the president's name wrong. And the
Hmm.
pronunciation of that country, it's all important. And if you get it wrong, it's like, if something goes wrong for me, I'll be like, oh no, I said that word, I said that word, I said that word. Why did I say it? I didn't say it. You have that.
Hmm.
But Chogam was one. And I also had the opportunity of interviewing Amitabh Bachchan when he was
Oh,
down in
wow.
IFA. And I didn't know the credibility, or, how much of a big deal this is, like getting to interview Amitabh Bachchan. That's it. And then you're given this seat and table and you're asked to sit. And then there is about 60 channels right in front of you, all flocked up inside the room. And you're like, oh. You run out of words and you think, shit,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's not the word. Uh, like, you've been asked to interview this man in front of all these stations, and then you're like, you can't go wrong, you can't go wrong, you can't get stuck, you have to keep it smooth, you have to remember your next question, whereas your concentration is on, oh, interviewing Amitabh Bachchan, Amitabh Bachchan.
Oh my God.
It's
That
it's tough, but
it's
it's
tough.
great.
It is tough. It's tough not to get tongue-tied in that moment and to be a little
Yeah.
awestruck. And the fear is real, especially like when you're in the political sphere and when you're reporting, because there is a lot on the line. And we've talked about this before. When you get into this field, it's not just your reputation, but there's so many other
Exactly.
aspects of
And
this.
And Harshi, most of them are live. It's not
Correct.
recorded. So you
Correct.
can't go wrong in what you say. There are no retakes. There are no,
Exactly
I mean, you
right.
can't edit. What he said is
Exactly
done.
right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you kind of have to just, go with the flow, right? And kind of decide on the fly what to do.
For
But
me, if I make a mistake, inside I'm like boiling, like, hot. And then how do you rise up again? What do you say next to turn it around? That's the kind of energy that you need to have, because you can't
yeah,
show you made a mistake.
exactly,
You can't do
exactly,
that. Yeah.
exactly. Within broadcast journalism, as it's evolving, as every year goes by, I feel like journalism is something that evolves, especially in this political climate, um, and the pandemic as well. With these changes, what do you think women specifically within your field can do to help and encourage other women get into this line of work? Because, there are women that are established in this line, that have really created a name for themselves, that have really paved the way. And it's not to discredit or take away from the work that they've done, but it's more of how can they, I don't want to use the word step aside, so to speak, to make way for the newcomers, but how, what can they do to encourage newcomers to pursue this? Because at some point, it's just the reality of things. People retire, people retire, and you want other women to come in to that role, to fill those shoes, to take the torch forward. And what can women specifically do to encourage that, to nurture that growth?
Harshi, when I joined, um, there was a lot of jealousy. You have to admit it. It's there
Mm,
from the seniors that comes down, and
hmm.
then you get this undercutting that happens, especially in Sri Lanka. I think it happens in every job. I wouldn't say
Yeah,
just for me.
the sense of
It's
competition.
sometimes people think if you have contacts, you can get in. This is where a
Hmm.
lot of people think I work full time at Rupawahini. Oh, she can get me in,
Hmm.
which is not the case. You have to make it through. And if you are a brilliant reader or a presenter, it's natural that if people listen to you, they will get you in. But what happens is, even in any field, people are not willing to let go of the spotlight that you have been. Because when you start, it's fun, it's fantastic. You join, you learn, you want to improve, you rise in a nice scale. And then
Hmm.
when you have to get ready for the downfall, it's sad that people are not ready to accept that. So they keep hogging to their seat saying, this is my thing, which is something that shouldn't be done. I'm so happy that people or my friends or colleagues in my batch, we keep sharing when we get an event if we are unable to do it, especially during COVID times. Everything was cancelled. For
Yeah.
me, it was just the news that was keeping on going. But then there were a lot of documentaries that came along, a lot of voicings that people started using. People started using the voices of different other countries to improve as well. So we kept sharing, with people in the trade because we know that when our time comes, we have to retire gracefully and then hand over the baton to the young people so that we can
Exactly.
share. But it doesn't happen here. I don't think people are very genuine. But a message that I would like to give, if there are people who are watching, I mean, you have to be ready to let go because you're not going to have a smooth skin every day and to be in front of the camera. But that doesn't mean that, you really can't have a like, wrinkled face and read the news. No, it's not that. It's just that you have to give opportunities to new people and you have to encourage them. You have to support them. And if there is something that you can tell them to correct it, the person on the other side has to be very confident in taking that criticism. Because I'm a person who loves criticisms and I love taking feedback. And my biggest critic is my mother. So she tells me, the way you smiled in the news bulletin, what's that? It's like a duck's back. Why do you
Oh my
smile like that?
God.
I love that. There has to be somebody who actually says that. And
Yeah.
then there could be guys who'll be like, oh my God, Sharon, why did you put your eyes like that? Why did you roll yourself on the news bulletin? Like, it's good to learn with criticisms, but what
Mhm.
happens to the generation coming now, they don't want to listen to it.
Mhm.
They want to be this I know it all person, which is something I believe that doesn't work, but it works at different times, and you have to be smart in how you sort of balance it.
Exactly right. That's a very, very good point. I think we've seen this in different areas and play out in different aspects of what you just mentioned. But taking constructive criticism within younger generations, there's definitely a gap between how, older generations handled it versus the younger generations. I feel like there's a lot of politically correct ways of dealing with things, of delivering feedback, of delivering criticism that has kind of made people a little not as tough skinned, right? So
Yeah,
it's a
I'm
disadvantage,
I'm
really.
Harshi, I'm really happy that my colleagues, the new beginners who join the newsroom, they're very humble enough to ask me and say, Aki, can you please correct me? Tell me where I'm wrong so that I can improve myself. And I don't want to be harsh, but I'm very direct in what I say. So sometimes they take it in a very negative way, in a positive way, which is where, the more honest you are in your feedback is where you can improve yourself. Now, if there is a senior person who tells me, Sharon, that word is an inappropriate word, you shouldn't have used it. And then I'm like, thank you for marking that. Thank you for saying that. So it's something like that. You're supposed to understand why that person said and who that person is, because there can be people who come and just say, she's good. Yeah. But like you said, you have to be open to listen to someone for critics. Yeah.
Would you say that thick skin is something that's definitely needed within this line of work? We'll take that silence as an answer too.
I think I'm talking too much, Harshi. Shall we swap roles? Shall I start with you?
What a convenient part in this to swap roles, right? Sharon, it's been such a delight today to be able to actually swap roles and be the one interviewing you and getting your insight on this field. And this field is something that is evolving virtually every year, especially with the madness that's been happening this year. The way that we take on news, the way that news is presented, disseminated, is really evolving. And to hear the opportunities within this field and what you've actually overcome to establish yourself has been been an absolute delight to hear this. And I really appreciate you coming on today to tell us your story. What parting advice or parting words do you have for our audience that's tuning in? And it doesn't have to be specifically for the women, but for everyone, because as you mentioned earlier, we do have a lot of men that have tuned in today to support this,
on that,
and I love it.
I see a lot of guys online.
Yeah, I love it.
To those who are really willing to pursue this field of media, it's a fantastic opportunity. You can be yourself. You have to be yourself if you want to get out there. And main thing is the honesty or the accuracy in the news that you deliver is the number one. It's sad if you are trying to just impress an organization just to earn ratings. That's not the way forward. I think you should have good ethics in what you do, and that should be a policy in your life, in no matter what field you follow. And if you dream it, you can make it possible. If you're a terrible reader, you can improve yourself. There are fantastic ways where you can just get in front of a mirror and start talking, improve on your public speaking. If you don't have the art, you can naturally learn this. It's all about the process of practice, where you need to prepare yourself to be that person. So if you feel like, oh, I don't have a pretty face, I am dark skinned, I'm brown, and that's why I won't be selected to the newsroom. It's always the pretty people who make it to the newsroom. No, there are ways that you can change yourself. There is makeup, and you can beautify yourself, and you can really make a difference if you have the art of focusing. Even if your voice is creaky, itchy, you can go for voice training and improve yourself in these areas. So if there is a passion that you want to be a presenter, a news reader in the future, definitely you can step on, but forget the money part a bit. Be humble,
initially.
initially, and then go overseas if you want to learn.
We'll do a separate series on that later, guys.
I think when you come to Sri Lanka, I will interview you and we can do that.
We can do part 2 of that series at that point, and the making money aspect of things. Well, thank you. It has been an absolute delight to have you here today, and thank you for everybody that joined in, and for all the supportive men in the comments as well with the wonderful feedback that you guys are giving and support. We greatly appreciate it. Here at Women Empowered Sri Lanka, we present this Happy Hour live talk show on a weekly basis. So stay tuned to our page to see the interesting topics and speakers that we have in store for you guys. If you have any potential speakers that you'd like us to feature or topics that you'd like us to talk about, send us a DM at any point, and we are always here. The team will try our best to accommodate that and give you content that is intellectually stimulating, right? So
Thanks a
thanks
lot, Harshika.
so much.
And
Thank
thank
you.
you to Women Empowered Global and Sri Lanka for initiating this concept for empowering women, as well as every single person out there who wants to dream and be that person. So thank you to everyone who joined in online. It's great to have you with us on a Sunday.
Yes, exactly. Especially with everything that's going on right now, as you mentioned, that everyone took the time to join us. So it's a pleasure. Thank you
Pleasure
so,
is mine.
so much. Have a wonderful
Thank you,
evening.
Harshi. Thank you. Have a
Bye.
great Sunday. Take
Thank
care.
you. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.